Making the same mistake again and again becomes a habit. And when mistakes become habits, they can quietly destroy a person's future. Think about a student who fails an exam. Failing once does not mean the student is foolish. Maybe they did not understand the topic. Maybe they did not prepare well. Maybe they felt nervous. But if the student fails, learns nothing, changes nothing, and studies the same way again, the same result will probably happen. The mistake was not only failing. The bigger mistake was refusing to learn from failure. This happens in many areas of life. Some people keep wasting money and then wonder why they are always broke. Some people keep trusting the wrong people and then wonder why they always feel hurt. Some people keep wasting time and then wonder why they never reach their goals. Some people keep speaking without thinking and then wonder why their relationships suffer. Some people keep avoiding practice and then wonder why their English does not improve. The pattern is the same. They want a new result, but they keep repeating old behavior. That is not wisdom. That is self-destruction. A wise person thinks differently. When they make a mistake, they stop, they reflect. They ask themselves, what went wrong? What can I learn from this? What should I do differently next time? How can I prevent this mistake from happening again? These questions are powerful because they turn mistakes into teachers. A mistake becomes dangerous only when you ignore it. But when you learn from it, it becomes experience. Experience creates wisdom, and wisdom creates better decisions. Imagine touching something hot. The first time, you get hurt. But after that, you learn. You become careful. You do not touch it again. That is how learning should work. But some people keep touching the same fire and then complain that life is burning them. The problem is not only the fire. The problem is the refusal to change. Many people say they want success, but they do not want to change their habits. They want better health, but they keep eating badly and avoiding exercise. They want better English, but they keep avoiding speaking practice. They want better finances, but they keep spending without discipline. They want peace, but they keep choosing drama. They want respect, but they keep making choices that damage their self-respect. The truth is simple. If you want a different life, you must make different choices. You cannot keep repeating the same actions and expect a completely different future. This is one of the most important lessons in personal growth. Your life changes when your patterns change. Not when you complain. Not when you wish. Not when you blame others. Your life changes when you notice your mistakes and choose a better response. Tip to avoid this habit. Start keeping a mistake journal. This does not mean you should hate yourself for mistakes. It means you should study your mistakes like a wise person. When something goes wrong, write 3 simple things. What happened? What did I learn? What will I do differently next time? This small habit can save you years of pain. It helps you stop repeating the same patterns. It helps you become more aware. It helps you grow faster. Also, before making a decision, pause and ask, have I made this mistake before? What happened last time? What should I change now? That pause can protect you from repeating old problems. A mistake is not the end. A mistake is feedback. But if you ignore feedback, life will keep giving you the same lesson again and again. A foolish person repeats mistakes and blames life. A wise person learns from mistakes and changes direction. So do not fear mistakes. Fear repeating them without learning. Because the moment you learn from a mistake, you become wiser than you were before. Sign 4. They blame others for everything. One of the most dangerous signs of a foolish person is constantly blaming others for their problems. Whenever something goes wrong, they immediately look for someone else to blame. They blame their parents. They blame their friends. They blame their boss. They blame society. They blame the economy. They blame bad luck. They blame everyone except themselves. Now, this does not mean that life is always fair. Sometimes people do face difficult circumstances. Sometimes people are treated unfairly. Sometimes bad things happen that are completely outside their control. But foolish people make a habit of blaming others for everything. And that habit keeps them trapped. Why? Because blame removes responsibility. And when responsibility disappears, growth disappears too. Think about it. If every problem is someone else's fault, then why should you improve? Why should you change? Why should you learn? Why should you take action? The moment a person believes they are never responsible for anything, they stop growing. A wise person thinks differently. When something goes wrong, they ask, "What can I learn from this? What could I have done better? What can I improve next time?" Notice the difference. The foolish person looks outward. The wise person looks inward. The foolish person looks for excuses. The wise person looks for solutions. Imagine two employees who lose an important client. The first employee immediately says, "It was my coworker's fault. It was the company's fault. It was bad luck." The second employee says, "Maybe there are things I can improve. Maybe I need better communication skills. Maybe I should prepare more carefully next time." Which person is more likely to improve? The second person. Not because they are perfect, but because they take responsibility. Responsibility is powerful. Many people think responsibility is a burden, but responsibility is actually freedom. Because when you take responsibility, you gain the power to change things. When you blame others, you give away that power. Imagine someone learning English. They say, "My English is bad because I don't have a teacher. My English is bad because I started late. My English is bad because nobody speaks English around me." These excuses may sound reasonable, but do they improve English? No. The learner remains stuck. Now imagine another learner. They say, "I may not have perfect conditions, but I can still practice. I can listen every day. I can read every day. I can improve little by little." That person takes responsibility. And because they take responsibility, they continue growing. This is one of the biggest differences between successful people and unsuccessful people. Successful people focus on what they can do. Unsuccessful people often focus on who they can blame. Another problem with blame is that it creates a victim mindset. A victim mindset says, "My life will improve only when other people change. My life will improve only when circumstances change. My life will improve only when luck changes." This mindset is dangerous because it places your future in someone else's hands. A wise mindset says, "I may not control everything, but I control my actions. I control my attitude. I control my effort." That mindset creates strength. That mindset creates progress. That mindset creates success. Think about some of the most successful people in the world. Many of them faced enormous challenges. Some grew up poor. Some faced rejection. Some experienced failure. Some faced criticism. Yet they refused to spend their lives blaming others. Instead, they focused on what they could do. They focused on improving themselves. and that focus changed their future. There is another important lesson here. Blaming others may protect your ego temporarily. It may help you avoid feeling uncomfortable. But it also prevents growth. Growth begins when you honestly examine yourself. Growth begins when you stop making excuses. Growth begins when you ask, "What is my role in this situation?" That question can transform your life because it shifts your attention from blame to improvement. And improvement is where real change happens. Tip to avoid this habit. The next time something goes wrong, resist the urge to blame immediately. Instead, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. What happened? What can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time? Focus on your response rather than someone else's mistake. Even when circumstances are unfair, there is usually something you can improve. Focus on that, because your growth matters more than your excuses. Blame makes you feel better for a moment. Responsibility makes your life better for years. A foolish person looks for someone to blame. A wise person looks for a lesson to learn. And that single difference can completely change the direction of a person's life. Sign 5. They act without thinking. One strong sign of a foolish person is that they act without thinking. They speak before they understand. They decide before they check the facts. They react before they control their emotions. They jump into things without asking, "Is this the right choice?" This habit can create many problems in life.